Calabash Cat and his amazing journey. For the Chaldean people. In the middle of Africa, there lived a Calabash cat. One day, he set off down the road to see where the world ends. When the road stopped at the edge of the great desert, Calabash Cat sat down and thought, maybe this is where the world ends. Do you think that that's where the world ends? Notice how the red line changes to orange. I wonder what the author and illustrator are trying to make you think about. Just then, a camel came by. He was surprised at how silly Calabash Cat was. Climb up on my back and I will show you where the world ends. And they walked across the desert. Make sure you're paying attention to the designs in each animal. But when they reached the far side of the desert, where the grasslands began, the camel stopped and said, "Here, my friend, is where the world ends." Calabash Cat would have believed the camel had a horse not happened by. The horse was quite surprised at how small-minded the camel had been. "Climb up on my back and I will show you where the world ends." And they galloped across the grasslands. Do you see that there's a fish included in the design, and a bird, and a lizard? But when they reached the far side of the grasslands, where the jungle began, the horse stopped and said proudly, "Here, my friend, is where the world ends." Calabash Cat would have believed the horse had a tiger not shown up. The tiger was quite surprised at how full of nonsense the horse had been. "Climb up on my back and I will show you where the world ends." And they bounded through the jungle. But when they reached the ocean, the tiger stopped and said, as sure as he could be, "Here, my friend, is where the world ends." I like how the author changes the line here to indicate water. Calabash Cat would have believed the tiger had a whale not called from the waves. The whale was quite surprised at how wrong the tiger had been. "Climb up on my back and I will show you where the world ends." And they swam across the sea. But when they reached the other side of the ocean, the whale said, without hesitating for 1 minute, "Here, my friend, is where the world ends." Now, when Calabash Cat looked at the miles of land in front of him, he thought how small the whale's world had been. Even the tigers and the horses and the camels, he wondered if he would ever see the end of the world. Just then, an eagle swooped down. The eagle was quite surprised at how foolish everyone had been. "Climb up on my back and I will show you a world without an end." Up they went into the great sky, and Calabash Cat's eyes grew wide with wonder as he flew around the world over oceans and jungles, grasslands and deserts, back to his homeland. And this is my favorite page. All of these animals, so many. I will go back to that page in a minute. This picture here is of the author, and he's holding a picture of a calabash gourd that he bought when he was a volunteer in the Peace Corps. He went to Chad, Africa, and they bought that calabash gourd in the shape of a cat. So in Africa, calabash gourds grow. They're sort of like a pumpkin or a squash, and they let them dry out and they turn them into drums and bowls and house decorations. If you were wondering about some of the writing that was in the book that you couldn't read, like right here, the author decided to write it in that language so that his Chaldean friends in Chad, Africa could read it. It's Arabic writing. So we'll go back to that page. You can look at all of the different examples of Calabash animals. Maybe get some good ideas for your project.